Padres Hot Tub is a community-supported podcast. What does that mean? It means that if you're listening to us on the free feed, you're supporting us by listening. We appreciate you. And, those Spreaker ads that you probably fast forwarded through, kicked us down a percentage of a penny or something along those lines. But how about the hundreds of people who every month make the decision? They've subscribed to Padres Hot Tub. They've become patrons at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. And what do you get for that? First off, our beginning level is $5. There's nothing for $5 left in the world. Like there's nothing. Everything is $7 now, $5. So first off, value. Second off, ad-free podcast. You miss this ad. You don't even know that we're talking about it. Get the show 12 hours earlier. Get all of our bonus post-game shows that we record live, group therapy shows that we record live. Get it all ad-free. Get access to our Discord, probably the coolest place for a Padre fan in social media. It's all there for you. Access to tickets, access to so many different things. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. But the bottom line is you're helping us make this show. We're putting this show together. This is something we're doing, but we do it because we have your support. So your support helps us to create the content that you enjoy. Become a supporter. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Memorial Day edition. Craig Elliston, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. What? Is this Jomboy? Did we merge? It's Ryan Cohen, everybody. Hey!
Yay!
Happy to join you guys, man. That was a weird game tonight, but I'm happy it was a win, and I'm happy to be with you.
We are thrilled to have you back, buddy. It was great to have you at the end of last season. It's great to have you before too long this season. And you're here for a special episode, right? We have hit one of the official signposts of Major League Baseball, Memorial Day. As Raphie says, half the luck that's baked into the year has already been allocated. By the time that you get to Memorial Day, it's a time to take stock, take assessment. And thank God, Ryan, we're coming off a win and not a dispiriting loss at home to the Miami Marlins to kick it off as San Diego comes from behind tonight, down 3-0, turns 3-0 to 3-2 to 3-3 on a Manny homer. And then the best thing possible for a team that can't hit with runners in scoring position is to score without getting a hit. And the wild pitch does it exactly right.
I felt like yesterday's game in Atlanta, winning the series, was a real opportunity to change what had been some really bad vibes over the past week and a half. And you get the big win yesterday, come from behind late, and then you kind of have to take it to the Marlins and the Pirates to continue that momentum. And when game one, you're down 3-0 after an inning and 2 innings, heart starts beating in a bad way. So to come back, to have Manny yet again, another display of power late. We've seen that 3 times now in the last 4 games. That's excellent. That's really, really good news, and hopefully win the series tomorrow and stay hot.
The human brain is programmed to survive by recognizing threats in the form of patterns, and these Padres have some threatening patterns at times this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because this team has now won 3 of its last 4 games, and this is like one of those, like, you had to lie with statistics, like vibes, how you feel about the economy, how the economy's actually doing sort of gaps right now, where I just feel like this is a team that has somehow stumbled and fallen its way to winning the 3 of its last 4 games. But, we've seen some encouraging signs, certainly, that we'll talk about. Just quick shout out to Manny Machado, who looks like he might be right on time. It's Memorial Day. You can start wearing white, and Manny can start hitting dingers. So I'm looking forward to chatting about the state of the Padres at the traditional "now it's okay to check the standings" mark of the season.
So this is what's going to happen. We're going to start off by focusing on, of course, our beloved San Diego Padres. We'll go through what's gone well. We'll note what's gone poorly. We'll look at the biggest issues confronting the team as they go into a momentous month of June that will see them finally truly crack the seal on NL West play, and it'll go from a trickle to a flood immediately as you start going from not playing anyone to 4-game sets in San Francisco, 4-game sets in LA, Arizona series sandwiched in between, a completely wild month. We will also look at where the National League is at Memorial Day, who has sorted themselves. Do we know the contenders? Do we know now specifically the list of villains that we get to root against? All of that to come on today's program. Really quickly, a couple of housekeeping notes, and I want to start with a promotional note for our special guest. Ryan, tell everybody about your new show.
Yeah, so Clark Farenthold and I have a new podcast also in the Padres world, the Brown and Gold Standard. Clark's a really smart guy, knows the minor leagues, knows pitch data and analytics better than anyone our age. We're both in our early 20s. I certainly bring a love for the team. I don't think I necessarily bring the Harvard level knowledge of it in terms of the numbers and the data to back it up, but I do watch every night, and I think we have a cool combination of he's incredibly knowledgeable, loves the team, and then I'm definitely more on like the fan side, the energy and all of that. And I've gotten to know him pretty well over the last couple months. He's a great dude, and we're having a ton of fun with it. So we have a ton of respect for you guys, Padres Hot Tub, and all the other people in this space. But we're super happy to be a part of it now.
Well, welcome to the space, and
Congratulations.
Certainly a lot of room. Certainly a lot of room. No, it's great to have you. And Brown and Gold Standard, love the name, love everything about it. Looking forward to it. On the note of new podcasts, I want to make this announcement to all of our free audience as well that we're branching out starting on Thursday. A co-production of Padres Hot Tub and San Diego Punto Football, our friends over at SD.F, which is a brand new San Diego FC podcast called The Chromaniacs, which will be featuring myself, Tony Sanchez, and Alex Pena, who's been a member of our Discord for years and is the writer of the Substack Chromatic FC. It's going to be all about San Diego FC, our MLS team here in town. It'll debut on Thursday and run on Thursdays. We'll share a preview edition of the first episode in our free feed here just to let everybody know. So when you see that pop in your feed on Thursday, don't think that you got like mal subscribed to something that was there on purpose. And hopefully you'll come on over and join us. Also, Chris and I are restarting Crossing Streams, our weekly television streaming review podcast. And that's going to get started. I don't know if it's this week or next week, but Chris and I are getting that back underway. Something that I had to shelve when I went on the radio. Well, hey, great news. I'm not on the radio, so I can do Crossing Streams again. Everything worked out so well. So, along those lines, small blessings. So Chris and I will be back talking about all the different shows that are streaming, all the shows that you don't know to watch or that maybe you thought about watching. We can give you the insight. We can give you some laughs along the way. Of course, Chris has so much more industry knowledge and connection than I ever could. So we'll be bringing you all those stories of both the acting side and kind of the idiot on the other side, just watching. All of that coming up on Crossing Streams. So new shows, Brown and Gold Standard, The Chromaniacs, Crossing Streams. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere, whether it's in your phone or whatever you do, Spotify, whatever. And we'll see you there. Okay. Housekeeping done, I promise. Let's go. It is now May 26th. We're done with the games, and the Padres are 8 games over 500. San Diego Padres victorious today, 4-3 in extras. Take care of business, and as such, as the sun sets on the Memorial Day scoreboard, the Padres have moved back into second place, a tie for second place in the National League West at 8 games over. They're 30-22. The Giants are 31-23. The Dodgers are 33-21, 2 games ahead. 4 games back of the group is Arizona, which won today to get back to 500 at 27-27, and then 16 miles in the distance, the 9-45 Colorado Rockies. So those are your standings. Guys, I thought we'd start with just what's gone well for our 30-22, 52 of 162 played. just about at the exact 1/3 mark, San Diego Padres. And Ryan, I think the most obvious thing that's gone well for the San Diego Padres is they started 7-0 and they started 14-3.
I think the bullpen has been an undeniable success and a huge key to winning. But the way the roster is built is it's, frankly, stars and scrubs. And although there have been some recent skids for some of the guys, the overall numbers for the superstars on this team, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, and Fernando Tatis, have been really, really good. And that's the reason they're 8 games over. Now, if they want to continue to be a team pushing for the NL West title against the Dodgers, the superstars need to play like superstars all year. And this recent Fernando slump and a little bit of a Jackson slump puts you in a not great spot. But on the whole, where we're at here on May 26th, the numbers are where they need to be for the superstars, and that's the reason this team's been so good.
I would do a small counter. Like the superstars have done what they're supposed to. I would say it's been entirely the pitching side of things. And I'm going to go ahead and say his name because I said this a few weeks ago that the most consistent starting pitcher on this rotation this year has been Randy Vasquez, and I got eye rolls. I didn't say he's been the best. I didn't say he's been the greatest. I said he's been consistent. Our guy goes out there tonight, gives them 6.1 innings, quality starts it up, doesn't give up a hit after the second inning. Randy Vasquez is rocking a 3.58 ERA and absolutely holding. He's been an anchor on this rotation. He hasn't necessarily been the stopper. He's definitely not a stopper because the guy can be lighter fluid at times, but he's been remarkably consistent all year long. He has done his job as well as anybody on the team.
Man, I want to respond to the question, Craig. I really don't know what to make of Randy Vasquez because yes, he has a 3.58 ERA and through 55 1/3 innings, which like, again, one of those things, if you would put that in a time capsule and told me, on March 25th, I would have taken that 10 times out of 10, but he still has an expected ERA of 5.57. And when he gave up 3 runs to start the game, I was like, okay, this is the Randy regression game. This is going to be my topic on the show tonight. And then he's like a fucking cockroach during a nuclear explosion and he just survives and persists. I don't get it. He's like a Twinkie. Take that shit out and eat it because it still tastes good even though the world's on fire around you. I don't get it. Okay, why have the Padres been good? Completely concur with Chris. That this team owes a ton to its pitching. Obviously going to be talking a little bit about the offense and specifically the offense from a StatCast sort of exit velo standpoint as a whole later in the show. But it's just worth it, talking about the fact that this pitching staff has the 3rd best batting average allowed in Major League Baseball this season. They're, only allowing hits at a 224 clip thus far this year. And yeah, they're giving up a little bit more on the slug, 365 on the slugging percentage. That's 9th best in baseball. But still, your upper 3rd in slugging and your top 3 in batting average allowed. Those are just some good old fashioned back of the baseball card statistics that you can chew on. And the only other thing that I'll say is, there's never been a better argument for all 162 games matter than this season so far for the Padres, because outside of those 7 games to start the season when the Padres went 7-0, Padres are only 1 game above 500. And so, those games count just as much as the other ones. I'm not saying that to try and denigrate or sully this team. I'm just saying at the Memorial Day standpoint, it's sort of the duality of the final Monday of the season where it's both now, one could say no longer too early, but one could argue that it's never been too early because without those games, where would the Padres be right now?
Very fair. Very fair. So you guys have talked about Vasquez. I would expand that to say that the Padres haven't died in their 3, 4, 5 slots coming into the season. You thought, okay, you've got King, you've got Cease, and then you've got, I don't know, We signed Nick Pivetta. What's he's going to do? He's never had an ERA below 4 in his career. You've got Vasquez. He's been a tire fire. You got Kyle Hart, Steven Kolick. Like, what the hell are we doing back here? But in reality, I mean, Hart was not good. Vasquez has had some starts that he has been bad. But honestly, rough and tumble, he's done his job. Kolick's come up and done his job. And Nick Pivetta has pitched like a borderline all-star for the San Diego Padres. And I think that's a huge part of what's helped, along with, obviously, this team's got a lockdown bullpen. It's got one of the best bullpens in baseball. Even taking Tanner Scott out of it, it's still almost a Stratomatic level bullpen in terms of like, just throw these cards and the game is over. All those things are good. But Ryan, I'm going to leave a lovely low-hanging fruit for you, which is the milkman. Holy Sheets. Gavin Sheets, 10 homers, rescued off of the waiver, DFA'd by the White Sox, for God's sakes. And he's come in playing left field, batting cleanup, and doing a great job.
I'm really glad you said his name, because it was going to be the first thing I said in whatever my next comment was. Raphie, you asked, where would this team be? And that question I have asked myself so many times about Gavin Sheets. And it's hard to imagine, not just the clutch late homers, just the production that we've gotten from the DH/first base, left field, wherever he is on that day. I wasn't expecting any of that. You hoped that Yuli Gurriel and Jason Hayward could be serviceable. They have not been. Yuli's gone. And you hoped that Gavin Sheets would be like a 26th man, maybe some pop off the bench. I was expecting like Jabari Blash, and he's become a legit everyday MLB DH. And the defense is atrocious, but that's not what he's here to do. I've been very impressed with him since opening day. He hit the homer to tie the game against Atlanta, and he's been clutch. And even tonight, he grounded out to second, gets the runner over to third. I know that's not heroic. No one's going to remember that, but that's doing a job late, and that's a hard thing to do. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I cannot imagine where this team would be without his production this year so far.
Well, absolutely. Sheets, one of the best parts of this season. And, you talked earlier about stars being stars. And I'll just back that up by saying that, it's Memorial Day, and Manny Machado's got a 321 batting average. Now he hit his 6th home run today, but that's actually where he was last year. And then he hit 6 homers per month the rest of the season to get to where he was at the end of the year. Tatis got off to a tremendous start, and Chris did a lot of research and video work on Fernando. And I feel like the work you did, Chris, it's going to push it into the second part of the Padre review a little bit.
And it's not all for tonight. Like, I think I'm going to do a short soak on this, because it's a lot to unpack with Fernando Tatis Jr. and his season so far. Like you said, his start was MVP caliber, and we were all on board for that narrative. We were all on board for, I'm not going to say breakout, but the fulfilled promise of Fernando Tatis Jr. And it looked like it was there. And there's just been a few things, like it always seems like they're in the year. So yeah, we'll put that for the second part, because let's mention the good. Let's mention the up to what was it, May 2nd, when our guy was still one dotting it with a slug over 6, with 8 home runs and only 129 plate appearances, 113 at bats. And that guy is still there. He hasn't gone anywhere. So let absolutely give the man his flowers for the first month and a half of the season.
Now, this next thing, Ryan, the last time you were on the show, you said something and it rattled around in my head like a loose marble the rest of the winter and into the spring. And I don't know if you remember this, but you were talking about the incredible contributions of key unexpected players to the San Diego Padres last year. And you mentioned Jurickson Profar. You mentioned David Peralta, Donovan Solano, Kyle Higashioka, 4 players who were all free agents for the Padres. And at that time, talking at the end of the year, you talked about how there's this tension, anxiety, because you feel like you can't go on without them, but you also can't rationally expect any of them to play at the level that they played in 2024 in 2025. Well, I'm taking that as the entry to my next submission for what's gone well for the Padres, which is bullets dodged. Imagine if you had signed Jurickson Profar to his market rate contract, and then he gets dinged for steroids in the first week of the season. And think of the opportunity cost of the people you don't get because you spent the money on Jurickson Profar. Imagine if you had kept Donovan Solano. He's hitting 170 for the Mariners. How about Peralta? He hasn't been signed by a team. How about Higgy? OPS is under 600, 1 home run. Now, we know he'll hit 10 by the end of the year because it's in his contract with God. But nonetheless, he's only at 1 right now. And I'm going to take it a step further, Ryan, because the whole winter, it was the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. Oh, we got to get Roki. Oh, you know what? Not just 2025, but the remainder of the viability of the Padres and our adult livelihood. It all depends on signing Roki Sasaki to a rookie-level deal to come in and become the phenomenon of the universe. I have thought about this, Ryan, so many times the last few weeks. Where would the Padres be if they had won the Sasaki sweepstakes, chosen not to sign Nick Pivetta as a result, and then watched Roki go out there and get his ass handed to him time after time after time? Where the hell would the Padres be? Profar, Sasaki, Solano, Higgy. Bullets dodged, man.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And I was explaining this to my mom, who over the last 3 to 4 years has become a sicko diehard Padres fan, which blows my mind because she didn't care about baseball at all my entire childhood. So she watches every game now. She ruined her birthday dinner the other night checking the game on her phone. She's hilarious about it. And she was like, you know who I miss? I really miss Higgy. And I was like, yes, we miss the production that Higgy gave us, and Solano and Peralta and all of those guys last year. But we don't miss him. What he's doing this year, and you just said this, Chris, would not help the Padres. Now, with Roki, you get 6 years on a minimum salary and arbitration and all that. Like there was a reason we all really wanted Roki, and it wasn't just 2025. But in 2025, unequivocally, the money that we saved on not spending on Profar went to Pivetta, and Pivetta's been better than Sasaki. So, again, you can't only look at a team in a 1-year period if you're running a team, or else your team would die every year, and that wouldn't work. And AJ does this incredibly well. He looks at the short term and the long term. I think that's why he wanted Roki so bad. It is why he wanted Roki so bad. But where we're at 2 months into this year, undoubtedly we dodged a bullet there in terms of winning in 2025, because we don't have the depth and ability to let a starter go bad like the Dodgers do. The Dodgers don't need Roki to be an ace. We need Pivetta to be an ace. And Pivetta has been, and Roki hasn't been.
Exactly. And this is a good spot to start to transition, because a lot of great things have happened for the San Diego Padres. And with today's win, the Padres now have 20 wins against 5 losses in the National League.
That's crazy.
In the National League, the Padres are 20-5.
What league are they playing, Craig?
The National League.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But here's the wild thing. That's 23 games. How about the 27 they played, or 25 games against the American League in the same period of time? Padres are 10-17 against the American League. So, Raphie, you can look at that as obviously a bad thing. We went 10-17 against the American League. That's a bad number. Also, you can look at it as, if you're going to lose games as a wild card contender in the National League, drop them to American League teams. That's obviously qualitatively better.
Yes, that is precisely right. So one thing to also note is that we have lost 60% of our games to National League teams to the Chicago Cubs. Okay? 3 of our losses in the NL have come against the Cubs. And the Cubs right now, according to Fangraphs, are standing at 72.6% chance to win the division. So we're all big Cubs fans in the NL Central right now, because if they win the division, then that tiebreaker is essentially meaningless unless we're talking about home field advantage or whatever at this point, which that would be getting into like crazy tiebreaker situations that are irrelevant at this point. If you're going to like draw up a way to allocate losses, I would say that it's actually pretty good to only have 5 losses against the NL, 3 of them belonging to a potential division winner. Also worth noting that one of those losses in the NL is to the Colorado Rockies, which is both suboptimal because you should be winning every game against the Rockies, who, by the way, this is a tidbit I heard on Effectively Wild that I just had to repeat. Their 50-game record of 8-42 is the second worst all-time, losing only to the 1895 Louisville Colonels, who started at 7-43. So that's so losing one of your games to those guys, not good. But you're not going to have to worry about them in a tiebreaker situation. So in that sense, maybe it's not that bad. And then the other loss in the NL is to the Braves. We lost 1 game to the Braves this past weekend, and we own a commanding tiebreaker victory over them. So maybe we can transition now, but glass half full version of going 10-17 against the AL means that we're 20-5 in the NL. So there we go.
As much as we hate them, and I hate them more than anyone, the Dodgers, in all likelihood, are going to win the NL West. And you can think, oh, these tiebreakers might not really matter. But they mattered last year. And the Braves had to play a doubleheader and then fly across the country and get their asses kicked by our San Diego Padres because of this tiebreaker scenario. And we need to avoid that at all costs because it can end in 2 days because you had to do some weird rain-delayed tiebreaker doubleheader. I don't want any of that. None of it. Skip it and just get a spot in the playoffs, and every single one of these NL wins does matter more than the AL games. It's minimal, but it matters, and it adds up.
It absolutely does. And, just to reassert the thing we said at the very beginning of the what's gone well for the Padres. On one level, you can say, hey, you started 7-0, and you're only a game over 500 after that. The response to that can be, guess what? You're 8 games over 500. And 8 games over 500 is a good place to be 52 games into the season. Every game matters. And by starting 14-3, you gave yourself the opportunity to struggle and not have it sink you. And the Padres have never left a playoff position at any point in this Major League Baseball season so far. And because of that, it's because of the beginning of the year. That's why that they didn't fall out when they had a 6-game losing streak and when they played poorly, which transitions us to what's gone poorly. And we've discussed the fact that the team went 10-17 against the American League. They've got 18 more games to play against the American League before the year's out. Got to right that ship before everything is said and done. But we can get into the specifics, guys, but I will toss this back out to the group by speaking about what I think has generally been the thing that's gone the most poorly for the Padres, which is that the Padres will go 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, scoring not at all. And early in the year, when everyone was hurt, we're like, well, yeah, Oscar Gonzalez is batting 5th. Like, that's why we're not scoring. But the full strength lineup has also gone out there and just went through a stretch of 7 out of 8 games scoring 2 runs or fewer. So horrible, befuddling offensive droughts that will always recall 24 scoreless innings in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Those scoreless droughts, those just boop, Padres offense, no more. That's what's gone poorly to me this season in the most broad general sense. And of course, we'll dig into the why.
Left field and catcher are gaping holes. It's not slightly below average. It's a gaping hole. Now, catcher around the league, it's really hard to find any sort of offensive production. Diaz has been fine, whatever. Maldonado, I have no idea how he's still in the big leagues. But I'm not as worried about the offensive production there. Left field, again, we just talked about Profar. That guy started the All-Star game last year. Mm-hmm. And we are currently running out. I know he's on the injured list now, but Jason Hayward, and I like Brandon Lockridge as a 26th man pinch runner, but it's not an everyday left fielder.
We are currently running out Gavin Sheets, sir.
right. Who can't play defense, And it's hard to attribute all of the offensive struggles to just 2 spots in the order. But when 2 out of 9 are almost a guaranteed out, it's really hard to get a big inning and a big rally going in any sort of sustained manner.
Well, I do want to push back on Higashioka walking being a great thing. Number one, he's been hurt. We don't know what happens in the realm of the simulation if Higashioka stays a Padre and the Padres pony up a little cash for the peace of mind that he brought. He's got the power of the guitar, man. He's got that Blink guitar from all the small things. He could use that as a healing chalice within the confines of Southern California.
I mean, he's 4 times as good as Martin Maldonado. We know this.
Yeah, man. And that was strictly a business decision to save money. I'm sure they in their projections that they didn't put Higgy for repeating what he did last year. But as far as setting a floor, him and Diaz were a lot higher than the basement Martin Maldonado digs you.
Yeah. If I could piggyback off of that, I wanted to posit a question to the group, to the 3 of you guys. I'm going to read out 5 names of players who have had significant playing time for the San Diego Padres. And I'd like you to guess how many plate appearances combined these 5 players have had for the Padres in 2025.
Is there going to be a Poway native on the question?
No, there's not. There's not.
Oh.
Jason Hayward, Martin Maldonado, Brandon Lockridge, Oscar Gonzalez, and Yuli Gurriel.
No.
How many combined plate appearances did those 5 players have? And closest to the stick gets a thumbs up.
189.
Price of Right rules. Ryan, you need to know this. Price of Right rules.
No, that's not Price of Right rules. It's closest to the stick.
Not closest to the stick.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say, and this is plate appearances or at-bats?
This is plate appearances.
I'm going to go with 400.
Okay. So Chris said 400, Craig said 189, and Ryan, you're going with how much?
I'll go 204.
Okay, Chris is closest to the stick. He is 336 plate appearances combined for Jason Hayward, Martin Maldonado, Brandon Lockridge, Oscar Gonzalez, and Yuli Gurriel. That is what is wrong with the 2025 Padres in a nutshell. Those
Raphie,
are
I thought you were going to do Connor Joe, Tirso Ornelas, and all those guys, and it was going to be where
now you can push 400 with those guys.
Well, but
no,
to be honest, I don't really
have
as much of an issue with those guys taking those plate appearances because, I mean, certainly in the case of Maldonado, Hayward, and Gurriel, like, that's just straight up dead weight. Like, that is just guys who we know exactly who they are because we have Jason Hayward's 35, Maldonado's 38, and Gurriel's 41. Like, you know who those guys are.
And the recent sample sizes aren't like small. They've been given at bats the last 3 years, each and every one of them, and they've done jack shit with it.
I think Jason Hayward is an absolutely perfect veteran piece for a team like the Marlins that doesn't have any veterans. This Padres team is loaded with veterans. And like Jason Hayward seems like a great guy. I don't mean to like take away from who he is. But Chris, you just said it. He hasn't been good for 7-8 years at this point.
It's so true. And that's it, Raphie. It's a giant sinkhole. And by the way, just not for nothing. I want to focus on one tiny piece of this. The Padres decided to make Yuli Gurriel their opening day DH. We bitched about it. We literally, Ryan, I don't know, you probably didn't hear, but like we fucking called it 3 weeks before the end of spring training. Said, oh, he's making the team and it's going to suck. And then he made the team and it sucked.
Oh yeah.
And the trickle down of that was that Connor Joe, Powwegian, and reasonably functional Major League Baseball player started the year in AAA. And then, I mean, compared to Yuli Gurriel, who's just a broken tinker toy. Like he's not even a good toy. He's a broken tinker toy. Like compared to him, Connor Joe's fucking Mickey Mantle. But point is, Connor Joe starts as a Chihuahua instead of a Padre. Then he comes up and he gets like 10 at bats. And then they hit a roster crunch and they wind up ditching him. And he goes, hey, trade me. And they trade him. Hey, guess what? Connor Joe with the Reds is 8 for 25 with 2 doubles. He's hitting 320, 370, 400 so far. 770 OPS, 109 OPS plus. It's not Jesus reincarnate.
He's resembling a Major League Baseball player. Like you
compared to the rest of our left field, that would be far and away. But he never even got a chance to become the left fielder. What he got was a week-long audition. Oh, you go 0 for 10? Get out of here, kid. You're gone. Gurriel got 40 plate appearances to suck the life out of Connor Joe's Padres career. And as a result, now he's hitting for the Reds. I'm not saying he's going to save the season or anything, but he's hitting for the Reds, and he would 100% be our starting left fielder right now. He would be the everyday starting left fielder, and he would certainly be a better option than running Gavin Sheets out there. Again, stratomatically is a 4E20, or playing anyone else, Lockridge, Hayward, etc. So that's, who cares? It's Gurriel, it's the Manny tax, whatever. It literally cost us Connor Joe.
Ryan, just for reference, Stratomatic was a baseball game they played back before screens could fit inside a living room.
That is correct.
I've never played, but I've heard good things.
4E20 is really bad, Ryan. That's it's like imagine
33 on the show
out there. Yeah. Imagine Miguel Ojeda in left field. That's what we're dealing with.
The Joe situation is so weird because there are only 2 possible things that could have happened in my head. He either demanded to be traded, which kind of makes sense being he started in the minor leagues, or it was a money dump of $1 million, less than $1 million because we're into the season. I mean, we're still in this same conversation that we've been since November of 23, but I don't know what is going on with the ownership. I don't know if $1 million matters, but I guess you got out of that money if you care about that. Maybe the prospect they got is something. I don't know. It is very weird. Connor Joe's not an all-star, but we're currently running out very, very, very below average left fielders, and he's at least maybe slightly below average.
Number one, Andrew Moore is a name that sounds like a guy in 2.5 years we can be like, where did this guy come from? AJ struck gold. But not only did they get Andrew Moore, they got perpetual roster invitee cash considerations. So that absolutely played a factor in the deal.
Well, and I guarantee you, though, as Ryan said, that Connor Joe got sent back to AAA and said, trade me, assholes. I signed with you on a baby deal to play for my hometown team, and now I'm stuck in El Paso. Get me out of here. And the Reds were like, cool, we need an outfielder. And the deal was done. Which leads me to the next thing that's gone poorly for the Padres, is the Padres had a wave of injuries strike their top 3 left-handed hitters all simultaneously, and it led to a 2-7 slump that put the first chink in the armor for this club. When they were riding high with the best record in baseball, all of a sudden they had a lineup that had Gonzalez cleaning up and Ornelas hitting 5th. Like, think about it, and naturally they were terrible. So it was an earnest reminder, gentlemen, that this Padres team, as you said, Ryan, stars and scrubs, we've talked about it for years. When it's all scrubs and the stars aren't there, it's hard times.
My whole thing is always just get to the playoffs. Get to the playoffs, whatever, get to the dance, anything can happen. It is terrifying to think about if there were any sort of injuries going into something like that, where you need the stars on the field and you need to perform. I don't mind the deal for an Oscar Gonzalez. Who knows? You might have gotten Gavin Sheets. Like, one of those hit, one of them didn't. One of them's in Japan now, one of them's hitting 4th for the Padres every night. I'm fine with Oscar Gonzalez being an option, but you can't be hitting 4th for a major league team. Clearly, he's not on any major league team now. And once the injuries hit, the Padres do not have depth. We've known that for a long time. That's not how they're built. And they don't really have a whole lot to sustain any sort of major injuries. So, you don't want to even think about it, but it's a concern.
One exception, and it's going to lead right into our next bullet point, where they do have just the tiniest smidgen of depth, is starting pitching. And if this team doesn't have two number 5 starters at the beginning of the season, and Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek down there, the injury and absence of Yu Darvish hits a lot harder.
That's right. And I'll continue to hold my one tiny little cigarette lighter up for Matt Waldron too, and just be like, and
he's
Waldron.
coming, man. He's coming. That flame, it's lighting the cauldron right now. That flame, it's got just one little bubble coming up every 30 seconds.
It is, but Raphie, when I would say one of the things that's gone poorly for the Padres in 2025 so far is the fact that Yu Darvish came into the year, seemed to be okay. Hang on, we've got a setback. He's not going to start the year with the team. Okay, he's ramping up. Things are getting good. He gets all the way to a rehab start, 4 innings, an efficient 51 pitches. Darvish is doing great. Oh, he's going to be on the team flight to Toronto. He's going to join. Whoops. We're back to today getting an Annie Heilbrunn tweet about Yu is playing long toss in the outfield. Is Yu Darvish dead? I mean, the thing that I'm actually more honestly, Raphie, I'm sure Yu Darvish will pitch at some point this year, but how can the Padres count on him like for another 200 innings in his career? Like, how can you count on him?
I legitimately don't think that they can. I mean, this is the risk that you take when you sign a 6-year deal that is going to take Yu Darvish to his age 42 season, age 41, age 42, something like that.
It was at least 41,
42.
I mean, like
42
my general rule of thumb is that let's say you're signing a 6-year deal for a major league pitcher, you have to assume that you're only going to get 4.5 years on that. And that's with a healthy, guy who just turned 30 generally. Like if we were to sign Michael King to a 6-year deal after this season, I would assume he would pitch for 4.5 years of that. We're seeing with Joe Musgrove right now, where you sign him to a 5-year deal and he's going to pitch 3.5 years of that, essentially. That's just the nature of what baseball is today, and what we're asking these guys to do. But you add an aging curve on top of that, and you're taxing that even more and even more and even more. So I do wonder if the Padres are being extra super cautious with Yu Darvish, because they're not just thinking about, what can we get out of him this season? They're thinking about how can we preserve and elongate this guy's career while we're paying him $18 million per. And to be fair, Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek continuing to throw the way that they are, they're not going to be pressured to rush him necessarily. They're going to say, hey, let's ride these guys until we can get Matt Waldron back up here. And now all of a sudden we're going to have a legitimate cushion to wait until Yu is potentially healthy. There was news that Kyle Hart is going to start on Wednesday. So, maybe that depth is starting to become a little paper thin in the meantime. But you said 200 innings in the rest of his career.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, what that says is 2 or 3 more seasons of Yu Darvish, maybe. And that seems about right, because I don't know that you can really count on him for more than 100 innings a season. And so that would be another 2 years that would take him into his age 40 season. And then who knows at that point.
What do you think?
The only point I really want to make is that the last time we saw him, I know they didn't hit in this game.
Good, I know.
He completely and totally shut down the Dodgers other than 2 solo homers in the biggest game of the year. And if he does that again this year, if he doesn't pitch until September and does that in a playoff game, worth it. I still am firmly of the belief that that's a 4-year, $25 million a year deal, and they added 2 years at the end, less than the AAV. I just think that makes the most sense. But Darvish, even at his age, when he's healthy, we know is elite. And if he's doing that in October, that's fine. Just got to get there.
After Darvish makes his first start of this year, I will mash that over, Raphie. I am a little concerned that it could be something that needs intervention, and that kind of changes the entire picture. Because just how slow the healing process is and how he has talked about this injury. He has said that he feels good throwing, but then his recovery takes longer, and he doesn't know if he'll be able to pitch every fifth day. Darvish will know that more than anyone. Ryan, you just nailed the merits of the deal for me. Yes, it's a long contract. Yes, he's contracted to pitch through his age 41 season, becoming a free agent in his year 42 season. But I don't think they expect him to be in the rotation in 2028 at all. I think that it was a way of securing a guy who is going to have a case for the Hall of Fame. He may not get in. It's tough for Japanese players who came over as late as Darvish, but he's going to have a damn good case for it, especially if we can secure a championship. And you pay for those types of guys to be on your team. That's the type of veteran leadership that's worth rostering, So I want to match that over hard, Raphie, but I do worry if we see him this year, if he has to undergo surgery.
Just to follow up on what Ryan said, because I agree, and I think Craig, to toss it back to you, is going to agree with me on this. If it's Darvish or Dylan Cease in a meaningful playoff game, I think I trust Darvish more.
Which is crazy.
Every single time. I wouldn't trust Dylan Cease to walk my kid to school. If it was a big playoff game.
Okay, to be fair, he's quite good at walking, Craig. So
that's fair.
Sorry, it was right there. I couldn't resist.
Well played.
Yeah, he's a disc golfer. That's what they do.
Yes, they do. Wrapping up this part, we've talked about it a lot in past episodes. You can just go back an episode, 2 episodes for us to talk about the power issues for the San Diego Padres. Well, guess what? The last week, they've done nothing but hit home runs, which points to the other issue, which is that the Padres have been a lot more 2023 than they have been 2024 with runners on base. They just did a 3 for 53. For fuck's sake. They
went 1 through 9 tonight. Not much better.
Yeah, they've been horrific. And again, they couldn't get a hit with a free runner on second base in 2 innings.
No.
2 innings. But
did not win on a walk-off hit tonight.
Yeah, thankfully the Marlins spiked to pitch. But, some aspects of this, Ryan, I all the time, and all my sabermetric friends who always said clutch hitting is a myth, runners in scoring position hitting is a myth. And you might remember those early 2010s Cardinals teams that there was one team that hit 310 collectively with runners in scoring position for the year. And they were like, no, we cracked the code. We solved it. We know how to hit with runners in scoring position. And the next year they were, near the bottom of the pack. So tonight was the first extra innings win for the San Diego Padres. They had been 0-3 in extra innings after being 0 for the year before, and then last year they couldn't lose an extra inning game. So the vagaries, Ryan, of just stupid baseball luck and the way the pendulum swings, I feel it's generally swung against the Padres this year in specific to their issues with runners on base.
I think in 2023, we saw historic levels of bad, both with runners in scoring position and in extra innings. And last year, we saw extreme success in both those situations. Regression to the mean or whatever else you want to call it, I think this year is probably going to be middling in both of those compared to what 24 was and what 23 was, because you're not going to get much better than last year and you can't get much worse than 23. Now, we're still only a quarter of the way through the year. That's our first extra inning win. I think there are going to be more. I'm not too concerned there. And I think the runners in scoring position numbers are and will be better than what they were in 23. But to expect the same level of success as last year, I think if you are leaning on that, you're putting yourself in a really bad spot.
And it's not like they've been complete crap all year long with runners in scoring position. This day in my travels, I came across this graphic that was aired during the Cinco de Mayo game. And it said in the last 5 games, The Padres are 17 for 39 with runners in scoring position. And that may have included the Colorado 21-0 game in there. I can't quite recall the date of that. But this team has it in them to string hits together and knock guys in. It's just been really bad so far this year. And I think that has to do with the struggles with the injuries leading to the middle of the lineup being filled with Oscar Gonzalez and Tirso Ornelas, and the top of the lineup being filled with absolutely just in the hurt Fernando Tatis Jr. and Luis Ariz, who will swing at anything and pop out to the shortstop happily anytime he wants.
Yeah. It was also in our rundown, and I think you put it there, Raphie, in terms of bad exit velo, bad barrels.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that point directly, honestly, at Ariz, as well as Bogarts, who went a year and a day without a barrel for this club. But, Luis is just the most, I don't even know how to explain him. As a player, you alternately love him and want him off your team. And it really is like day after day. It's like, I love this guy. Oh my God, we'd be better off without him. Oh, I love this guy. Oh, we'd be better off without him. And it's the thing is, the last month, short of the never-ending battle to define who he is, I think we can say, Raphie, the last month, Luis Ariz has played like the worst version of himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've talked about from the beginning with Luis Ariz, is that his margin of error is so skinny, where we were looking at the ZiPS projections at the beginning of the year, and we're looking at an 80th percentile of what, Luis Ariz is, and that guy's hitting 331. And, he's his OPS is up over 800, and it's looking great. But you look down at the 20th percentile, and all of a sudden it's like, that version of Luis Ariz is like hitting like 276. And we're looking at Luis Ariz right now who's hitting 281. So, if you're playing the home game, you probably guess that's somewhere between his 25th and 30th percentile in terms of outcomes, according to his preseason ZiPS projections. And you immediately see kind of the fault in the ways of that. I mean, from a purely anecdotal perspective tonight, we had a at bat where Luis Ariz went up 3 balls and no strikes, and I'm sitting on my couch and I was literally thinking, how's he going to turn this into not a walk? Because he's going to do that. And so he takes a 3-1 pitch or a 3-0 pitch as I would expect him to do. 3-1 fastball, top of the zone, prime place for him to just dink it into the outfield, up and away. The bat is sitting on his shoulder. It's the number one thing I cannot stand about watching Luis Ariz, because there's a lot that I love about watching Luis Ariz. I think his approach generally can be frustrating, but I mean, like, literally, you go to his StatCast page and it's like squared up percentage, 100th percentile, whiff percentage, 100th percentile, K percentage, 100th percentile. He's like unbelievable at putting the bat on the ball. He's probably the best in the game at just putting the bat on the ball. But it's when he's up at the plate and he has given up on pitches before they're thrown. He has signaled to people that he is not going to be a threat to the pitches before they're thrown. And so all of a sudden, it's a full count now in the 9th inning, and he pops up on a nothing pitch. A pitch that was basically at his neck, he swings at with a full count. And yeah, he didn't strike out, but he also didn't get the walk. And that's ultimately, for a guy who's hitting second in the lineup, and that was another thing that was just purely anecdotal based off of tonight's game. There was something about watching the game in like the 6th or 7th inning where I was like, this lineup just feels a little bit more connected. I know they're not getting a lot of results right now. And I'm hitting Chris Reed's erogenous zone right now. And I was like, oh, it's because Jackson Merrill's hitting second. Gavin Sheets is sitting in the cleanup spot. And I guess I came into the game in like the 4th inning. I'm like, I guess Luis Ariz isn't playing tonight. That was kind of surprising to me. But then for a glimmer for a second, I was like, well, maybe he's hitting 5th or 6th. That would be really interesting. So fascinating. I went on a Luis Ariz diatribe because I really wanted to get into, Craig, what you mentioned I put on the menu, which is exit velo and barrels. I knew it was bad watching the team. Obviously, we're not hitting a lot of home runs. We've talked about that extensively. I wasn't aware of just quite how bad. After tonight's game, the Padres are 27th in baseball in average exit velocity. They're 27th in hard hit percentage. They're 27th in barrels per plate appearance. This I thought was also telling, though. EV50, this is the exit velocity average of the 50, the top half of exit velocity, the 50th percentile through 100th percentile, top 50%. Padres are ranked 28th in that. It actually gets worse. So they're third worst in baseball with a 99.2 EV50. So while their offense, so far this season has been middle of the pack on the baseball card stats, 11th in batting average, 15th in slug. The underlying information is really concerning for me going forward into the rest of the season because if they continue to not hit the ball very hard, there will be regression. Like you can only hit into these little hot pockets for so long. So I think Victor Rodriguez and the Padres certainly garnered a lot of fans. I was one of them in terms of the hitting for contact approach. And I think that there is still a place for it on the team, but the place for it is situational. And it is something that the 2023 team failed to do was take into account, runners on late in games, 2 outs, whatever. It's actually much more valuable to dink a ball into the opposite field than it is to take a walk or whatever. And we saw the 2024 team improve upon that. It almost feels like now we're overcorrecting in 2025. And it's like we're just trying to get a base hit all the time. And at the end of the day, there's a reason that you shoot 3-pointers in basketball, and there's a reason that you try and hit home runs in baseball. And I don't know if the team has necessarily given up on trying to hit home runs, but there's certainly a major lack of them. And so whether that's roster construction or whether that's approach, it's something that I'm going to be watching for the Padres going forward this season.
Letters from AJ certainly hit on that, with trading in singles for home runs being a bad proposition. The last thing I want to highlight being poorly is the thing you alluded to, Craig, and it's also the biggest issue ahead. And that's that the club is giving the most at-bats to Fernando Tatis Jr. and Luis Arraez. They are 1-2. And Raphie, you're talking about exit velocity and barrels. You know what Fernando Tatis Jr.'s launch angle sweet spot percentage this year? We keep seeing him in the top 5 of the StatCast every single night for hard hit. Dude smokes the ball. But do you know where it's going? You know what percentile he is, boys, in the league? He is 5th. He is 5th percentile for launch angle sweet spot. And that has not corrected at all lately. Our guy has come into the season with several different narratives. He came into the season talking about how he got a lot of rest. He didn't play winter ball. He spent time with his dad, who he butted heads with over his swing, over his timing at the plate. He came into season with this little small toe tap that we saw that he was having a lot of success with. He was slapping the ball in between the second baseman and the first baseman on the reg. It led to a batting average of 364 on April 8th. In the first 2 weeks of the season, he wasn't exactly slugging like he started to do, but he was hitting the ball really hard, and he was having great results, knocking guys in, setting the table for the guys later in the order. And Luis Arraez was doing what he was doing, and it kind of worked. Up until May 2nd, as I talked to, our guy was a 1.2. Now, he got hit in the forearm on May 2nd. That is when we saw the Easter egg. We saw him leave the game, and we saw him come back. Since that game, his OPS is 640. His batting average is 195. He turned a 14 to 19 walk to strikeout ratio into, from May 3rd, a 6 walk to 24 strikeout ratio. And after that, on May 10th, just a week later, he talked to Kevin AC about what's going on. And he said this quote, "I'm just trying to find solutions. It depends how I'm feeling. I've been a little bit more tired after the first month. The body is a little fatigued. I was feeling my hands were getting a little slower. Not significant, but missing a couple pitches." And he talked about within the context of his toe tap. I don't know how much more effort goes into lifting his leg into the toe tap, but it seems like an odd narrative for him to bring up a guy in the prime of his career talking about being fatigued and how he was feeling. Since the walk-off, which was his first career walk-off home run on May 13th, we're just talking about almost 2 weeks, Fernando Tatis Jr. is rocking a 4.65 OPS. He is rocking a 1.50 batting average. Last 4 games, he has struck out nearly 10 times. Our guy is in the world of hurt right now. I don't think he's going to be that way forever, but it is obvious from how much he is adjusting his swing, not just on a game-to-game basis, changing his stance, his toe tap, and his entire swing mechanics. He's doing it mid-at-bats. In just a few days ago against Yadiel Fernandez in Toronto, he used both his big high leg kick and his toe tap on consecutive pitches. He has no cohesive approach right now. He is all in between his ears every single at bat. We saw him go 0 for 5 tonight. He is going to continue to get those at bats. I have done a deep dive into how his struggles are. I am super aware of how his struggles are. I've been a critic of Fernando Tatis Jr. before. I'm not taking him out of the leadoff spot. Dude is an MVP when he's going. You got to give him a chance to go. But right now, it's really hard. And looking ahead, as far as biggest issues, my concernometer with Nando is always really high because he's the heart of the team. And he can't continue to go like this if the team is going to succeed. They had a hard time beating the Marlins tonight because of the production they saw out of him.
Well, he missed a hanging slider for a home run in extra innings. Ryan, your thoughts on what you just heard?
Yeah, I mean, what concerns me more than the numbers is just visually he looks pouty. That's just
there was a fly ball to center field yesterday that Jackson Merrill took, trying to get the run around at tout, and Nando immediately sulked, man. Like, he showed up his teammate is what he did.
I don't love that. That's where I get a little Fernando.
Also, Jackson should have let Fernando throw that ball. That was a dumb
I disagree.
play.
He's the center fielder. I don't. I think he's the center fielder, and if he calls the ball, it's his. I know, but he's still not getting the guy. Arm. He's still not getting him. I know. I know.
We've had these same kind of conversations for 5 years now about Tatis and Manny. And when the team's going bad, they are pouty and they're sulking and, they're clubhouse cancers. And when the team's doing well, they're happy and smiling. Like, it's pretty one-to-one correlation. I think Fernando's going to be okay. The numbers since that hit by pitch, I'd forgotten about that. That scares me a little. He's definitely playing banged up. He's done it several times. But I think we're looking more at a midseason slump than anything to be too concerned about. In terms of my reasons for optimism for why the offense will get better, Manny heats up as the summer goes. 3 homers in the last 4 games, doubling his total. I think his power number is going to be right where they always are. He's going to finish right around 30 homers. He's Manny Machado. I guarantee AJ Preller will make an upgrade in left field. It's not I hope he does. It's a guarantee, because this is not, I don't want to keep harping on it, but that's not a major league solution right now. And AJ Preller will make an addition there. I don't know if that's an MVP level left fielder. I don't even know if one's available, but he will upgrade that spot, and that will lengthen the lineup a lot. That's my hope and what I fully expect.
Oh, I agree as well. And I agree about Toddy. And, if he wasn't missing pitches so badly, scuffling with his mechanics and scuffling with his selectivity, I would accept the narrative that he should have just gone on the injured list for 10 days after getting nailed in the forearm. And I would be positing about the thing that we always do as fans, going like, oh, thank God he's back in the lineup, when in reality, a 60% player in your lineup is bad, because that player just makes outs all the time, as opposed to a 100% player. Even a lesser 100% player can maybe sometimes get a hit. Now, to keep moving the ball forward, I just want to wrap up what Raphie had to say about Arise and Chris had to say about Tatis, to note that these are our players who hit 1-2 in the lineup. The Padres are now 20-16 against right-handed starting pitchers. Okay, well, that seems like a decent number. They started 11-0.
Wow.
They started 11-0 against right-handed pitchers. So they're 9-16 against right-handed starters in their last 25 meetings against right-handed starters. And of course, you see right-handed starters all the time. And of course, the Padres have 4 key left-handed bats in their lineup, in Arise and Cronenworth and Sheets and Merrill. So you need to be good against right-handers. And I point a direct red line to the on-base percentage of Tatis and Arise the last month against right-handed pitching and to the team's struggles against right-handed pitching. Okay, so we've talked about the good. We've talked all through the bad. What are the issues ahead? Well, we've nailed one. And Ryan, you just said it. The Padres are going to get a left fielder. The Padres have to get a left fielder. The Padres at some point are going to cut bait on Martin Maldonado. And whenever they do, they're going to stop losing money. This is just like the leak you have in your poker game that I love playing 6-9 of spades. It's my favorite hand. Well, yeah, you lose every time. You just remember that one time that you caught a gut shot and you won. But all the other times that you spent $40 on it and folded, you lost all those times. So that's going to change. Eventually, they're going to stop playing Martin Maldonado. Those will be good things. We are an hour 6 into this show, and we haven't talked about Michael King.
Yeah.
Michael King is on the injured list, and depending on your reading of the Padres injury translator, he's either about to sign Mike Clevenger's 2-year injury contract to come back after his incoming surgery, or he slept funny in his hotel room and he's going to miss 1 or 2 starts max, and he's going to be right back to anchor the rotation. This is how I'm going to bring it to the group. I don't know what the truth is or what the future holds for Michael King. None of us do. But if Michael King is actually hurt and misses multiple months of this season, can the Padres make the playoffs without his effective right arm? That's my question to the group.
Can they? Yes. Does it hurt their chances? Absolutely. I'd say they can because there's still enough time to go add someone. And as long as AJ Preller is in charge, people will be added. But if it's a significant chunk of the season without him, you're now looking at Kyle Hart having a spot. You're hoping that Waldron or Darvish pitch enough in the second half. Randy, Kolek, and then Pivetta and Cease. Cease has to stay ace level like he's been the last few starts. And Pivetta has to stay at the level he's been. Because if they come down at all without King, you're looking at a very, very average at best rotation.
Craig, if you answer me this question in our predictions podcast when we had just learned that Yuli Gurriel and Martin Maldonado were going to be on the team, I would have said no, there's no chance of it. But with the depth the club has put together in starting pitching, and with what Ryan Cohen, genius man, just said, AJ Preller will add some debt onto the credit card, wink, wink, John Prakota, if Michael King goes down. Like Andrew Heaney will be a Padre or someone of that ilk. And we will lose a talented young person who AJ has scouted and wanted to be in a Padres uniform for a long time, but he will sacrifice that young player at the altar of making a run in August and September. So yes, I think they definitely can, and it will hurt like hell, but it'll hurt like hell in ways that may not be immediately obvious.
I just want to shout out, we have multiple MDs on our Padres Hot Tip Discord, including John Prakota, but we have one who goes by the name of Dr. Cosmo, and when the news broke about Michael King, he posted in our Discord this morning and said that rotator cuff is the worry, unfortunately, which is classic to wake up with shoulder pain when rolling over in bed. So just one doctor's opinion. But I thought that was an
It's
interesting
actually
tidbit.
two. Surf Doc said the same thing in our Discord.
Oh, Surf
Sorry.
Doc. Okay, so now we've got a second opinion already. That's there you go.
That has not it's not evaluated him.
No, of course
grains
not.
sodium.
And we don't know what the severe. It doesn't mean that the rotator cuff is torn per se, but I mean, it's discomfort. You listen to your body, et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna shut up now before I start making an ass of myself. But that's just what people much smarter than I were saying. But yeah, I think Chris, you hit it exactly on the nose. Prospect credit card would go up. It is possible. I also think that the version of that team is basically Darvish and Waldron come back and are both effective. And I would put the odds of that being the case at around 15%, that they both come back and are both effective.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you could aim it higher, but that's kind of a fair number. And my last point on this, and you've heard me say it multiple times if you've listened to every single one of our shows, but this is what's going on. The Padres are in a stretch of 9 games in 9 days. They do get a day off on Thursday, and then it goes like this. Home for 3 versus Pittsburgh, straight into a 4-game series at San Francisco, straight into a 3-game series at Milwaukee, straight into a 3-game home series against the Dodgers. Then a travel day to Phoenix, after which you play 3 straight at Arizona, straight into 4 straight at LA, straight home for 3 in a row against Kansas City and 3 in a row against Washington. Then you travel to the Midwest, where you play 3 in a row against Cincinnati, straight into 3 in a row against Philadelphia. You come home, and now we're in July. 4th of July, you host Texas. But that's the month of June. At San Francisco for 4, at Milwaukee for 3, home to LA for 3, at Arizona for 3, at LA for 4, home to KC for 3, home to Washington for 3, at Cincy for 3, at Philadelphia for 3. That's as tough a schedule as you can pretty much draw up, other than putting the Mets or the Yankees in it, in Major League Baseball, or other than because you got the Phillies in there. So, that's about the toughest schedule you can draw up in Major League Baseball for the next month. So negotiating that without Michael King and getting to the end of it in playoff position would be nigh upon a fucking miracle. I don't know, but I think that for them to get to the end of that and be where they are now, second place in the division, looking strong, King has to come back and has to be good when he returns. Will that happen? I have no idea. Which brings us to our last piece of the show, guys, which is looking at the rest of the field. It's Memorial Day. We can do this. So, NL West. LA is LA. Shohei is back on the mound. 17 other starters are hurt. Six more will get hurt, but then some of the 17 will come back. And between it all, Ohtani's going to hit 50 more homers. He's only going to steal like 20 bases this year because he did that last year, but he's going to throw 100 strikeouts or 120 strikeouts. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. We just want to avoid maximum harm facing the Dodgers. That's my opinion. Anyone have anything otherwise? No. Okay, good.
Am I still here? Am I alive?
Your sound has switched.
Okay.
It's fine. We'll keep going.
The Giants seem to be the biggest surprise of the year. Robbie Ray being 7-0 is cray-cray. And yet, I still fear the Diamondbacks more than the Giants. What do you guys say?
The Diamondbacks lineup is so good, and their starting rotation hasn't been that great, but it still has names and arms that are good. I think the Diamondbacks are a much bigger threat. The Giants, to me, they won 107 games in 2021, and to this day, I have no idea how. I don't see a ton of – Willie Adames has been bad. Matt Chapman's good, but other than those two, it's not like there are any huge names coming after you. I just kind of don't worry about them. The Diamondbacks freak me out, and I think once Burns and Gallen and Kelly and all of them get on the same page and get rolling, that's a really good rotation with a really good lineup. And they're at 500 right now. I think they could get hot pretty quick and become a huge threat.
The fact that they're at 500 on Memorial Day, I just think it's good news. Just like the fact that the Padres are 8 games over, it's good news because I still think of these teams as being pretty close to one another in terms of their overall talent levels. So, hey, we got a 4-game edge on them. That's great. Best record in the National League is not LA, it's Philadelphia right now.
Mhm.
What are the odds, guys? Give me a 1 to 10. What's your beliefometer that LA doesn't finish with the best record in the league? That Philly could pull this off? Hard zero from Ryan. Chris?
I don't just put Philly at it. I think the Mets could get hot. I think the Cubs could get hot. 1 in 5, 20% chance the Dodgers don't finish with the best record in
Okay,
the
seems
National
fair,
League.
Rafe.
Yeah, I would even probably go up to like a 30 to 35%. I think that like you're still talking about the field, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's a big group, and the Dodgers are dealing with a lot of injury stuff. So I mean, like it, I I was. I feel like I've been negative Nancy on this pod, but then earlier, like at the very beginning when we were talking about the NL West, and there was there's a 0% chance that anyone but the Dodgers wins. I was kind of like, I don't know. Like, it's
So
like,
I think the biggest threat to the Dodgers not having the best record in the National League is an NL West team, because if you're going to win the West, you're going to have to get through the Dodgers to do it and beat them one-on-one. And we
Yeah.
obviously in the NL West are going to see
Right.
them a lot more than in
That's
the other
logical,
divisions.
Ryan.
I am absolutely thrilled that Shohei Ohtani is pitching off a mound. I can't wait to see him up there. I hope he goes max effort. I hope he tries to strike out so many guys, because the fact is, when he's not pitching, the dude is the most dangerous hitter in our league. He's a hell of a lot more dangerous than Juan Soto. So go ahead, Shohei. You go ahead and pitch. You listen to those Dodgers pitching coaches. You put your fingers on that ball exactly where they want them, baby.
Here's my tiny little thing that I'll say about the Dodgers, and I'm going to move on. I still think they've made a gigantic mistake putting Mookie Betts at shortstop. I think it's just a mistake. And I think it's the kind of mistake that shows up at the end of the year, because Mookie Betts is playing harder than he's had to play at any point in his major league career. Taking ground balls at short every day, manning shortstop every day, dealing with the double play turn every day, in addition to everything else he does. And we already know all of his history of being one of the hardest workers in the world, and the guy who shows up at 2:30 to take 600 swings before a game. Well, doing all that and playing shortstop is exhausting. Whereas going out to right field and standing around a while can be pretty chill. And I wonder, you're not seeing Mookie Betts' greatest year this year. You're seeing a pretty below average for Mookie Betts' year. And I wonder if him playing it short all year wears him down and makes him a non-factor when the Dodgers need him at the end of the year. Fuck LA. By the way, just, fuck LA. Number one wild card right now.
There's the title of the episode.
Number one wild card is the Mets right now. Number 2 is the Giants, tied with us at 8 over. And the Cardinals lost today, so we've got a little bit of a gap there, but the Cardinals would be the one team on the way out. Last thing for the group. Is this our field, or would you like to add one to it? The Mets, the Braves, the Giants, the Snakes, the Cardinals. Are these the 5 teams for 3 spots, and we're the 6th team? Or is there anyone else that you would add, or would you subtract anyone from that list?
If Ellie De La Cruz goes back to 2024 Ellie and carries the Reds lineup, I think they could sneak into the picture. I don't think they're necessarily a playoff team, but there's enough in Cincinnati with Terry Francona that I could see them being around at the end of September.
I would also point out that the Reds last year finished with a positive run differential, and this year they're on an even better pace. I've poo-pooed them in years past. I do think Tito brings a whole different thing to the game. I don't think the Cardinals are for as real as their record indicates. They have got a hot Missouri summer coming up on them, and that rotation has held up so far. They got some decent guys behind them, but like the Cardinals, I feel like could fall out of it, and the Reds could sneak into it. Either way, the Padres are better than both those teams.
You just nailed it. I looked it up today. The Cardinals have had the same 5 starters start every game so far this year, and that's included, Matthew Liberatore and Andre Palante, and like the next group down for St. Louis is going to kill them. So maybe they're going to be that 1 in 20 years team that 5 starters start the whole year and they'll stay in it. But as soon as that falters, the Cardinals will fall out of that group. I would rate this group and rank them: Mets 1, Braves 2. Now, you guys might argue with me about that, but I would still put the Braves second in that list.
Look how fast they got back to 500 after they started 0-7.
And then I would actually put Diamondbacks third. Now, obviously, they need to get back people like Eddie Rodriguez. I don't know if they've just chosen to put Montgomery on ice for the year or not, but they've got some pitching injuries that they need to fix. But I would put it Mets, Braves, Diamondbacks, then Giants, then Cardinals, then the field. That's how I would rank that group.
The Braves lineup this past weekend, I think they had Harris hitting 8th one of the games. I know they had a really bad start. That entire team freaks me out when they come up to the plate. So I don't think you're wrong there, Craig.
No.
And with that, guys, an extra long show. We've hit the bottom of the menu. Anything else anyone would like to contribute to our Memorial Day signpost review of the Padres and MLB?
Yeah, I think because this team's been good for the last 4 to 5 years, we forget how awful it was a lot. And these are conversations I died to be having for my entire childhood. And could this team be better? Yes, absolutely. But I think that it will be. And I think there will be additions, and we're competing for a playoff spot and competing for a World Series. And that is so, so cool. And it's all I wanted my whole life. And I'm not going to take it for granted now that we're here.
Yeah, I just the one thing I'll add is that, I know that we've been down on this team in some regards, but I legitimately think that they are a left fielder away from being contenders, like legit World Series contenders. It's not a small piece, but it's one piece. You can eat a catcher situation, but I mean, I read on the show last week there are only 2 teams that have made the World Series in the last 100 years that had, or excuse me, 2 teams that made the playoffs in the last 100 years that had an OPS plus of 70 or lower from left field. So you gotta get your slugging up. You gotta get your slugging up in left field. But if you get it, they're in a really good spot.
Raphie, you've been hitting it out of the park all year with that. I would also say that not only are the Padres in a glory days, the Padres hot tub is in a glory days. Our latest video, which is called Luis Arraez Spoils Ronald Acuna Jr.'s return with his big baseball brain, is at about 7,000 views on YouTube. Our Instagram channel, Padres Hot Tub, is blowing up. We had a video get over 1 million views earlier this season. We're averaging about 25,000 on those. If you have gotten this far in this podcast and you're not a Patreon subscriber, please consider doing that. If you have considered it and would like to pass, please do us an absolute rock solid. Go to where you're listening to your podcast, rate and review the show.
Great stuff, Chris. And speaking of the lands of millions of views, Ryan, tell everybody whether it's baseball hijinks or warehouse fun, where they can track all the incredible stuff you're doing out there in the NYC.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I help with Jomboy's social media. So if you don't know who Jomboy is, I don't know how you're a baseball fan, to be honest. The lip readings and the ejections, he's incredible with it. So make sure you check out Jomboy Media on YouTube. I'm not in those videos, but I help with them, and they are incredible. And Jimmy is a genius. For my face, I'm on JM Baseball. We do trivia videos at 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday. They're a ton of fun. We do different games. If you love baseball, they are right up your alley. I was a huge fan of them. Now I get to be a part of them, and it's a true joy. JM Warehouse, I play random sports. that aren't real, and it blows my mind that people watch them. But Rob Lowe was watching the other day, and that really blew my mind. He reacted to a catch I made, and I was freaking out. And then, we mentioned it at the top of the show, but if you aren't sick of me yet with all of that I just told you about, the Brown and Gold Standard with me and Clark Farentold, we're having a ton of fun talking Padres over there too. So if you've listened this far into this show, you like listening about the Padres. If on the other side of your drive home, after listening to Padres Hot Tub, you're bored and looking for something to check out, come hang out with us.
All right, that does it for this show. We've got post-game shows coming up the rest of the week. We'll have group therapy for our patrons during the off day as well. Thank you, as always, Ryan. It's so much fun to connect with you. It's past 1 a.m. on the East Coast as we finish recording this, but can't wait to have you on again. Let's make sure we have you back on in the second half.
Sounds good to me. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure.
All right, great show. Great show. For Chris, for Raphie, for Ryan, I'm Craig. Thanks for listening to the end. Go Padres.